Joining us right now, he is the one, the only. He's a fan favorite, I'll have you know. He is Ken Klukowski, General Counsel at the American Civil Rights Union. Ken, I don't understand this legal basis that this woman has over there at the CFPB, also known around town as the KFBB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Leanne English is suing the president. I don't get that. Why can't the president just put whomever he wants on as the head of this commission?
The answer is Windsor, Larry.
Ah, God. Well, that's actually not the full name, but you're close. That's part of it. Is the House of Windsor, but when Philip, see, you haven't been watching The Crown on Netflix.
That's right. I've been too busy dealing with trying to protect the Constitution, separation of powers. Well, when
Prince Philip married Queen Elizabeth, or then Princess Elizabeth, they actually did something a little unique there, and he has a different last name, but it's hyphenated. But that said, Ken, let's get to the president.
Yes, this is beyond my skill. It's clearly in the purview of Google.
I understand.
What's going on here is that Richard Cordray, who is a far left liberal Democrat, he was the director of the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and he quit to go run for governor of Ohio. Immediately before resigning, he elevated his chief of staff to become the deputy director of CFPB, and then upon quitting, tried to trigger the successor provision in the current statutory framework to allow her to become the acting director and control the CFPB until the President of the United States could nominate and have the Senate confirm a new head of that bureau.
Okay.
So essentially this was an attempt to do an end run around the president to stop President Trump from taking control of the bureau by installing his deputy at the very last second.
And how is that even? It just seems like a no-brainer to me. Why is this even a controversy? You can't do that, and the president has the right and constitutional privilege to appoint people in commissions like this. Why is this even a question?
Well, because there's a provision in the relevant statute. The CFPB was created by Dodd-Frank, which is this huge 1,000-page sprawling what the Affordable Care Act did with regards to health care, Dodd-Frank did with regards to the financial services industry. And there's a provision in it that says that upon the absence or unavailability of the director, that deputy director can take command of the bureau.
Yeah, but when I hear
has the authority. Yeah,
when I hear absence and unavailability, it sounds to me like he's sick or he's on vacation or incapacitated. Not this guy's quitting. He's not absent or unavailable.
That's exactly right. There are two things going on. First of all is whether or not resignation actually triggers the statute. The second is this. There is another act of Congress, the Vacancies Act, the Federal Vacancy Reform Act. And under the Vacancies Act, the president has the authority whenever there is a vacancy, unless there is a statute that explicitly says the Vacancy Act does not apply, unless a law that Congress passes specifically says no Vacancy Act here, unless that is the case, the president always has the option under this other act of Congress that whenever there is a vacancy at the head of an agency or department, either the first assistant can assume command, or the president can appoint an acting head of that agency. And that's what he did here.
Right.
President Trump exercised his authority under the Vacancies Act and put OMB Director Mulvaney in charge as the acting director. That's what this lawsuit is all about.
And by the way, if these people don't want us to think that there's a deep state or there's a swamp, they should probably stop acting like there's a deep state and a swamp, because this is exactly the problem, isn't it, Ken? And the fact that this could even go forward, where does it go in the court system? Is this going to go to a federal judge and then he'll throw it out, or what's the plan?
It's already, she filed a lawsuit in U.S. District Court for D.C. It's been assigned randomly to Judge Timothy Kelly, who is actually appointed by President Donald Trump. So, have fun with that one. And what's going on here, the question is between these two statutes, which one controls? Now, I'll tell you, from a constitutional standpoint, all right, the Article 2 of the Constitution says that all executive powers shall be vested in a president. The whole idea of truly independent agencies, of anyone having raw executive power that's truly separated from the president who was chosen by the American people, any such purported independence is actually repugnant to the Constitution. You have accountability to the people when those who wield government power are those who are elected by the people. So as a matter of first principles and the Constitution separation of powers, there is absolutely no question, regardless of what the statutes say. And again, I believe they're in President Trump's favor here. But even aside from that, any statute that purported to do something different would actually be unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has suggested it's possible in years past. I think we're getting back to the Constitution's separation of powers and its proper structure and understanding. And as we're getting back to that, and the courts are getting back to that, there is no question that the elected head of the executive branch should and must have the prerogative to head his agencies with his people who are accountable to him, because he's the one who then answers to the American people at the ballot box.
It's outrageous. It's a bunch of deep state Obama cronies that have stacked the deck in this CFPB, and now that there's a vacancy, they want to continue to run the thing. It drives me crazy. Thank God we've got people like Ken Klukowski. Ken, thank you for joining us to shed a little light on this. But
thank you, Larry.
You think the odds are that the judge is going to say, go take a hike on this?
I think that the judge is going to side with President Obama. With President Trump over the Obama-holdover. I expect it to go on appeal to the D.C. Circuit.
All right.
And depending on how it goes, even possibly the U.S. Supreme Court, but unlikely.
In other words, they'll side with the Constitution and logic and how things ought to be.